Okay, everybody, let's check out the homework and see how you did. Reminder on this homework that if you divide the numerator and denominator by the greatest common factor, it's going to save you a lot of time. You won't have to keep on simplifying. You can do it all in one step. So let's look at number 1. 10/15. We are going to divide the top and bottom by the GCF, which is 5, and you're going to get 2/3. Okay, next one, we are going to divide the numerator and denominator by 18. That is the GCF, and that simplifies to half. And if you see, 18 is half of 36. 27 and 36, the GCF is 9. We're going to divide the top and bottom by that. And 27 divided by 9 is 3, and 36 divided by 9 is 4. So that simplifies to 3/4. All right, the GCF here, 12 and 15. Okay, they're 3 apart. That's a hint. The GCF is 3. That won't always work, but it does work. Okay, 4/5. Number 5, 26/39. They are 13 apart, and it just so happens that the GCF is 13. So that winds up being 2/3. I know a lot of you probably said, that doesn't simplify. It does. All right, number 6, 7/9. We're going to split this up and look at 7/9 first. 7/9 doesn't simplify, but B divided by B does. They cancel. So this just winds up being 7/9. All right, now we get to more complicated variables. Let's look at the numerical part of the problem first. 16/20. What can go into both 16 and 20? It is 4. So when I divide it by 4/4, I get 4/5. Now, y's. How many y's do I have on top? 1, 2, 3, right? How many y's do I have in bottom? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, reminding ourselves, anything divided by itself is 1. So, 1, 1, 1. These all become 1s. And what do I have left on top? I have 4. What do I have left in the bottom? I have a 5 and I have a y left. So my answer is 4/5y. Okay, that's how you do those problems. Let's look at the numerical part first. There's a lot of tongue twisters here. All right, lots of numerical parts. So 8/10, that's going to simplify to 4/5. So I'm going to divide it by 2/2. And x over y, there's nothing in common, so they stay. So your answer is just 4x/5y. Okay, next section, 6/16. If you divide that by 2/2, you get 3/8. Now look at the y's. See how the y's cancel? I have a y on top and the y on the bottom, so I've got more x's on top, so my answer is 3x/8. And this guy, they're only 4 apart, so if I divide that by 4/4, I wind up getting 6/7. Now I've got 2 n's on top, and I've got 1 n on the bottom. One of the n's cancels, right? So I wind up getting 6n/7. That would be my answer, 6n/7. Okay? And just remind yourself, anything divided by itself is 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. Anything is divided by itself is 1. And remember, I'm going to do it again. Anything divided by itself is 1. So now I'm going to switch that saying. Anything divided by 1 is itself. So this is the same as 10/15. This is the same as 27/36. This is the same as 26/39, because anything divided by 1 is itself. It just looks a little different, okay? And that's simplifying fractions. All right, moving on. These are a little bit more complicated, but we're going to do it right here. Let's remind ourselves, anything divided by anything divided by itself is 1. Anything divided by itself is 1, and anything divided by itself is 1. So the A's, the B's, and the C's cancel. So it's very tempting to say, hey, Mr. Babiak, the answer is 10. But remember, these become 1s. And what's left in the numerator? 1 times 1 times 1. So in the denominator is 10 times 1 times 1 times 1. So it is 1/10. It's not 10, it's 1/10. Okay? Number 12, simplify 30/54. I'm going to divide it by 2/2. And I get 15/27. Am I done? No, because 3 can still go into them, right? So 3 goes into it 5 times. 3 goes into it 9 times. Now, what cancels? The y's cancel. The x's cancel. But I'm left with h on top and k on the bottom. So your answer is 5h/9k. Next section, I'm going to expand these. M times n over p times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and n. And I'm going to say, okay, Well, what cancels? One of the m's cancels, and one of the n's cancels. So what do I have left? I have an n on top, I have a p on the bottom, and I've got 4 m's left over. So I get n over pm to the 4th. And that would be your final answer. All right, next one, 5/15. That simplifies to 1/3. 5 goes into both. The j's cancel, and now I'm going to do it quicker way. I'm going to say the h's. I'm going to have it canceling with the h's. Where do I have more h's? I've got more h's in the bottom, the denominator. So I go down there, and how many more h's do I have? I've got 2. So my answer is 1 over 3h to the 2nd. Okay, 12/16. If you're struggling, do your numerical part someplace else. All right, I'm going to divide that by 2 over 2, and I get 6/8. Still not far again. Still not far enough. Divided by 2 over 2 again, and you get 3/4. So the numerical part of the problem is 3/4. Now, where do I have more h's? The top or the bottom? I have more on the top, right? So I say, how many more? I have 1 more on top, so my answer so far is 3h over 4. Now, where do I have more k's? On the top or bottom? On the bottom, right? How many more? 1. So my answer is 3h over 4k. And the final one, 20/16. Well, I could divide that by 4 over 4, and I get 5/4. Where do I have more s's? On the top. How many more? 1. Where do I have more t's? On the bottom. How many more? 2. So you get 5s over 4t squared. Okay, new stuff, a little challenging. It's okay, I know it looks crazy, but we're going to get used to using variables a lot. Okay, 2 equivalent fractions. We said in class you could multiply it by 2 over 2, 3 over 3, 10 over 10. Or you could make it 7th grade and say, I can multiply it by like x over x or y over y, because anything divided by itself is 1. So if I just said, let's multiply this by x over x, that becomes 1x over 4x. That's equivalent because the x's would cancel. So you could just pick out different variables, right? You could add a 0 to the end of them and just say, hey, that's like multiplying by 10 over 10. If you want to get crazy, you could say, I'm going to just add a negative on the top and a negative on the bottom because a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and those cancels, right? So there's an infinite amount of solutions for these answers. So I'm going to do the quickest way possible. I'm going to do it differently for every problem. So I could say 20/30. I could say 200/300. I could say 2,000/3,000. Just keep adding zeros. This one, I'm going to add x's. This could be 3x over 5x. This could be 3x squared over 5x squared. Or it could be 3x to the 3rd over 5x to the 3rds, because the x's would all cancel. You'd wind up getting that same 3/5 back. Okay, 3/18. I'm going to actually go backwards and simplify it and say 3 goes into both. 1 and 6 times. Then I'm going to double it. Then I'm going to double it. All right, your teacher in the past might have said, just keep multiplying by 2, right? They're all equivalent. So that works. This guy, I'm going to simplify. Cancel the k's. This becomes 8/16. Simplify again. That becomes a half. Add, I don't know, an x on the top and an x on the bottom. All equivalent. All right, this one, I'm just going to add a negative on the top and a negative on the bottom, because the opposite of a negative is a positive. All right, I'm going to add a 30. I'm just going to add a 0 on the top and a 0 on the bottom. Or, I don't know, let's just pick a random letter. I got M and I got N. Let's just add, I don't know, a P on top and a P on the bottom. Those would cancel, and I'd wind up getting the same thing every single time. All right, so you get the idea. You could add a negative on the top, a negative on the bottom, a 0 on the top, a 0 on the bottom. I could add one more Q on the top, one more Q on the bottom. So we get the idea of how to do these problems. We don't even need to go over them. And there's an infinite amount of answers. It would just take forever to hit all the answers, right? So you get the idea. Number 25, Monty completed 18 passes out of 30 attempts. What fraction of passes did Monty complete? Sometimes I'll say incomplete, so be careful, or not complete. So he completed 18 out of 30. That simplifies to 9/15 by dividing by 2 over 2, which simplifies to 3/5. Okay, so 3/5 is the final answer. 5 new state quarters will be issued by the United States Mint this year. Okay, This question is a little old. You know, on the back of some quarters, they got the states on the back of them. All right. Well, 5 new states came out every year for 10 years. So what fraction of the United States were issued this year? So 5 new state quarters were issued. What fraction of the states? So we know that there's 50 states, right? So 5/50ths simplifies to 1/10. Okay, so that was your homework, and you're going to get better and quicker at fractions the more we do them. And we got a lot of fractions to do this year. So keep working and keep trying your best. You're going to get better and better.